Rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Welcome to the Township of Aldridge Zoning Board of Adjustment regular meeting, June 6th, 2024. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Aldridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting by prominently posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, location, and the agenda of this meeting, mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and posting the agenda on the municipal website. May I have a roll call, Ms. Porcelli?
Ms. Andrews?
Present.
Ms. Chevalier?
Here.
Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Mr. Stoner?
Here.
Mr. Singh?
Here.
Chairman Sullivan?
Here. Just a little notice to everyone. Please turn your cell phones off. Everyone has one, just so we don't interrupt the testimony tonight. This meeting is being televised live on the cable channel here in Aldridge, OBTV Channel 15, and simultaneously it's broadcast on YouTube Live. If you ever need to refer back to it, you can find that on YouTube. Just a moment of attention, if you would. Today marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day, June 6th, 1944, during World War II. D-Day was the name given to the invasion of the beaches at Normandy in France by troops from the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and many other countries to combat the occupation of Nazi Germany. 156,000 Allied soldiers landed on the beaches that day. Estimates of more than 4,000 Allied troops lost their lives on that day, with thousands more wounded or missing. May we always remember the sacrifices that were made in the pursuit of freedom. All gave some gave all. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. The agenda is going to go a little out of order this evening. There's only two applications on. We're going to start with the minutes, item number 3, minutes of May 16th, 2024 meeting. Board members, hopefully everyone had a chance to review them. Absent any corrections or comments, I'd ask someone to move them for adoption.
Move it, Scogno.
Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. We'll move to item 4's resolutions. We have 3. We'll take them in order. 02-2024Z, Robert Wektis for C variance. Mr. Clancy.
So this was the One Arden Court. It's block 15569, lot 105, application from Mr. Wektis. This was heard back on May 16th, 2024. This was to legitimize a 21 by 24 canopy installed at the rear lot. Had a rear setback relief that was required. The board did approve this at that meeting with the usual conditions. Mr. Chairman, this is on for approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Board members, someone move that for adoption, please.
Andrews, move it.
Is there a second?
Second, Scogno.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. 07-2024Z, John DeCoursey, C variance and a design waiver. Mr. Clancy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was for 474 Brookside Avenue in Lawrence Harbor. It was block 19474. This was heard on May 16th, 2024. This was an application for a driveway and patio improvement that was installed during the pandemic, and variance relief was needed to bring it within the codes. This was approved by the board on that date. It is on for memorialization tonight with the usual conditions attached.
Thank you, Counselor. Board members, someone move that for adoption, please.
Chevalier, move it.
Is there a second?
Second, Stoner.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews? Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Finally, 06-2024Z, Timothy Haratunian, C variance. Mr. Clancy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for 71 Appleby Avenue in Old Bridge, Block 18086, Lot 142. This was a homeowner who was looking to do an addition on his childhood home and needed some variance relief in order to accomplish that. We heard this on May 16th. This was all effectively setbacks here. The board did approve the variances on that evening. It is on for memorialization with the usual conditions attached to it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Counselor. Someone move that for adoption, please.
Chevalier will move it.
Is there a second?
Andrews, second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. That moves us to item 5 in applications. Let me just say something brief. On the agenda, if you've seen it, there is 5 listed on there. There will not be 5 heard tonight. There will only be 2. All-American Ford is on, and JCP&L. The other 2, I'll read them into the record. 46-2022Z, 1799 Realty LLC. That was at 1799 Highway 18 for a 40-room motel. The applicant has withdrawn this application. I guess that's without prejudice, right?
I believe so. It doesn't indicate otherwise.
Okay. So if you're here on that matter, it will not be heard. It has been withdrawn. If you're watching at home, it has been withdrawn as well. The other matter is, the last one on the agenda is 11-2024Z Carol Baker. That's a physical location of 180 Mattawan Road for an addition to a single-family home. Public hearing for that application has been adjourned to June 20th, 24, without further notice. That'll be our next meeting this month, June 20th, without further notice. Will not be heard this evening if you're here on that matter. So that brings us back to having 2 applications, and I'm going to take them out of order this evening. The first one up I'm going to have is 39-2023Z, JCP&L First Energy. Please come up, gentlemen, or ladies, who's ever involved. This is the EDO 1 Zone Block 26001, Lot 1.11. Physical location, 1345 Englishtown Road, Old Bridge. It's for removal of an underground storage tank. Major preliminary and final site plan with the D variance. Russell Anderson Esquire, representing the applicant. Counselor.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Russell Anderson.
Just push that button until it goes green on the top. There you go. It's very directional, so
Okay. perfect.
thanks.
Russell Anderson, Bertone Puccini, representing the applicant JCP&L.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for hearing us tonight. We have a very basic application in front of us, as I would suggest. We are applying because we need to get an oil tank out of the ground, and we need to replace it with something above ground. To my left is Aaron Dickerson, who is a representative of JCP&L. He's going to be my first witness. Mr. Callisto Burton, he's our engineer and sitting over my shoulder to the right. He will be my second witness, and our planner, Ed Coling, is in the third row back there. He'll be my third witness. So without further ado, if you'd like to swear in Mr. Dickerson.
Board Attorney will swear in.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth? Yes. Okay. Just position yourself, if you would, or pull the microphone maybe. Right, yeah, it's perfect. Can you just state your name for the record, sir?
Aaron Dickerson.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dickerson, would you mind giving us your title within JCP&L?
Project manager.
And what are your responsibilities as a project manager?
I guess I run facility projects for MedEd, JCP&L, and Penelec. Penelec. It's in Pennsylvania.
And is the Old Bridge site that we're here for tonight one of your responsibilities?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you give us a brief overview about the application we're here for, what JCP&L wants to accomplish?
Basically, there's a tank in the ground that's been in there for many years, and to be environmentally conscious, we want to remove it from the ground and pull it further away from the wetlands, put it in a double wall tank with all the necessary provisions for leak protection, and just, that's pretty much it.
Is this emblematic of other projects that are going on with JCP&L right now?
Yes, there's let's say a 7-year tank program to remove as many of the tanks from the ground as possible.
And were you involved with the preparation of the plans that we're going to present tonight through Mr. Burton?
Yes, I reviewed them. He was the one who actually did the full design.
Okay. You were integrally involved in the goals, or the goal orientation, and what was going to happen as far as the design goes.
Correct.
Okay. How long has this process been in place, the designing of the plans to get to here tonight?
I believe we started at the end of 2022. Is that correct? Yeah.
So there's been a fair amount of thought that went into not only getting the tank out of the ground, but what to replace it with and where it should be placed.
Correct. We worked with the DEP to review like drainage and other items and made sure that we made it as environmentally good as possible. I don't know the right term.
Assuming that the board approves everything tonight and the construction starts, is anything going to change at the JCP&L site as a result of the tank improvements?
No,
Okay, so there won't be any additional traffic,
that's correct.
there won't be any additional employees.
Correct.
Okay. Otherwise, the facility, as it's been running, will continue to run into the future without any other abbreviation or stop.
Correct. I believe the traffic pattern on the site changes slightly, but we are maintaining good adequate clearances and we're having adequate parking spaces to maintain the same.
But as far as the quantity of traffic doesn't change.
Correct.
That's all I have for this witness. If the board has any
Why doesn't he
questions.
tell us what type of fuel is in there?
Sure. It's going to be both diesel and gasoline.
So it's
I
one
believe
tank
it's
that's,
12,000? Yes.
one
12,000.
tank has two
It's a
compartments.
2-compartmental tank, correct.
And how are you going to, during this duration, how are you going to fuel? Is the new one going in first and the old one? Is that-
Correct.
is
It's
that
in
the
a
way you're
different location.
staging?
So the current one will stay in place until the new one is almost operational. Then we'll do the demo and we'll use local gas stations during the transition period.
Let me turn it over to the professionals, we'll see. Mr. Darji? I don't have any questions. Okay, Ms. Sawant, anything? Board members on my left, any, of the project manager, any questions? No. On my right, Counselor?
No.
You can continue, Mr. Anderson.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dickerson. Appreciate it. Next is Mr. Callisto Burton.
I was wondering why you were hogging the middle.
You're up.
Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Callisto Burton, C-A-L-I-S-T-O, Burton, B-E-R-T-I-N.
Thank you.
Mr. Burton, would you mind giving the board the benefit of your education and experience as it relates to engineering?
Yes, I have a degree in civil engineering from Villanova University and a master's in engineering from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I've been practicing engineering, or I've been the principal of Burton Engineering since 1986, and I was here just a couple months ago.
Here in Old Bridge?
Here in Oak.
Okay, perfect. Is your license currently in good standing?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you paid your fees, we'll accept his credentials.
Okay. Mr. Burton, you were approached by JCP&L to draft plans related to this tank replacement. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you mind walking us through your plans and the goals for said construction and replacement?
Yes, I'll just give you a little background. We're applying for preliminary and final site plan. We've provided a set of drawings, site plans dated November 3rd of 2023, and a survey and some other, our drainage calculations. As we've already been testified, well, okay, so the site is at 1345 Englishtown Road. It's their repair facility. They have garage for their trucks. They store utility poles, transformers, and that sort of thing in the back. And they have an office building. It's about 22,000 square feet. And it's on a lot that's 4.6 acres. And there's really woods all around the lots and wetlands around the property, so there's really no neighbors. Right. So in the back of the yard, you have the building in the front, and in the back, they have the fueling facility, 12,000 gallons of tanks. They have an old-style island that you saw in old-style gas stations with the 2 dispensers, and that's going to be removed. As was testified to, they have a program where they're removing all the underground storage tanks to put them above ground. And the new tank is, say, 40 feet, 30 feet away from the existing dispenser. So we'll have an above-ground tank. It's a fire guard, double-wall tank meant for above-ground use. Have dispensers on either end. So the tank is split in the middle. You have gasoline on one side and diesel on the other. And so we'll put that on a concrete pad. We'll surround the tank with bollards to protect it from being impacted by a vehicle. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're putting area lights up to provide lighting for the tank area where people come and fill up. Then we're going to clean the area, remove the tank to where it was, and the existing tank is closer to the side lot line. So we're moving this new thing further from the lot line. And then we'll just pave and patch up after they remove the tank. So it's very simple application.
Okay. Mr. Burton, as it relates to the tank itself, or strike that, as it relates to the traffic around the tank, is there any, have you redesigned the traffic flow so that the trucks that are getting refilled can do it efficiently?
Yes. There is currently parking along that would be the site runs east-west with the the east side being fronting on, was it right, Route 527. So on the south side, there's parking perpendicular to the sideline, and then the dispensers. So when we take the dispensers out, we'll continue the parking along that south sideline. And so there's a little bit of change of traffic flow in that instead of coming to the south sideline, they now go straight down the driveway to the site. And again, in the back there, it's large, it's an open area where materials are stored. And so we'll just restripe the parking lot a little bit.
Has there been any need for regrading of the property or changing drainage or anything like that as it relates to the work?
Now, this section of the site is paved, so we're just going to fit in and meet the grade around us. I mean, we're going to pick the tank up a little bit so the water runs off, but other than that, we're going to meet the grades around the concrete pad.
Okay. And you mentioned the installation of lighting. What's the amount of lighting? Where is it? Is it directed? How are you putting that together?
Well, we have standard LED pole lights, but, so there's two poles, but each pole has 3 fixtures on it spread out, so we make sure we don't have any shadows when trucks pull up. We did specify the poles to be 20 feet. I think that requires a waiver. If that's a problem, we can easily take the 2 feet off and comply with the 18-foot requirement.
Is there going to be any installation of landscaping or screening or anything of that nature?
Yes, we don't need it in the back. Again, it's in the back of the building, and you really won't see it from the street. I guess if you're parked right there in the driveway, you could see it, but it's in the back in a secure area, a fenced-in area. But we are proposing shrubs along the street
Okay,
to enhance the area that's there now.
okay. And just for orientation of the lot, so that's clear for the record, is there, you mentioned that it's woods surrounding. Are there any direct neighbors to this property?
No.
Okay.
No. As a matter of fact, to the south of us, we have the power lines, so you have a large easement for the
Okay.
power lines. And then again, on the south side of us, it is all wetlands.
Okay.
So there's no development there.
Okay.
Okay, great.
If you're, please, if you're.
No. The only thing is, I don't know if you want to go through some of these waivers should I do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, we're just replacing the underground storage tank with an above-ground tank. So we weren't really doing anything else to the site, which, according to a new site plan would require a lot of landscaping that we're not doing. Again, it's a construction yard, it's not a shopping center, it's not an apartment building. So we have several waivers, and I just want to get the document. I have the review letter dated May 1, 2024 from the Planning Department. And if I go to page 4, under the planning and engineering comments, I'll tell you, we will, number 1 is asking for some more information, which we'll comply with. Number 2 is a comment that we have more parking than what's required. And number 3 gets into landscaping, and there's several landscaping waivers that are required, because again, this is a construction yard or warehouse yard. I don't know if you, should I go through each one of these?
We'll put them on the record, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we
okay.
just read them in.
And Mr. Colling will go over this as well. So, under 3A is, well, it's again, landscaping should be of a quality to enhance and improve the entrance of the site. We are putting some landscaping along the front, but I think we still have a waiver. B is landscaping and planting areas shall be reasonably dispersed throughout the parking lots. So we're asking for a waiver because the parking lot in the back is really a construction parking lot. C, where it's requesting peripheral landscaping shall be required along any side of the property. There's existing, really on the side between the curb and the property line is tall wetlands. So we're not proposing anything, but there's landscaping there. Okay. D, a landscape strip at least 5 feet wide shall be located between the parking and the abutting property lines. I guess actually we have that. It's not a formal landscaping. It's wetlands. It's high reeds and plants. And D has 3 sections. Again, it's 1 shrub for each 10 feet of non-livable, durable barrier. Oh, shall be planted between the parking lot and the site. And again, this is, no one can see it, it's in the back, right? Okay, so E, landscape strip at least 10 feet in depth shall be located between the abutting right-of-way and the parking lot. We do have a large island that's more than 10 feet, and we are adding some landscaping there. I don't know if that requires a waiver. Okay. But we are not providing any trees, and we're not providing a hedge wall across there.
Can't even see the
F.
site.
Not less than 20% of the gross parking area of any parking lot shall be landscaped. Again, we ask for a waiver for that. So the next item, we get to site plans, and we're going to comply with everything except for 4C. Oh, it says to show the connection points for the existing water, sewer, and gas lines. We can guess at where they are, but we're in the back of the property, those are in the front. So we ask for a waiver for that. The next one that we're asking for a waiver for is H. Maximum foot candles at the property line is 1 foot candle. We have these carriage lights that are right along the right-of-way line in the front of the property. Obviously, they're right on the right-of-way line, so they extend beyond the property line. So we're really lighting the road, not someone's yard. So we ask for a waiver for that. It's an existing condition. And then we ask for a waiver for I. Parking lots require 1 foot candle average or 0.6 minimum. The rear yard where we store equipment, the transformers and the utility poles, there are areas that are less than that, but, you know, they're the power company. They would have put lights there if they needed it. And we have floodlights around the property, and if they need it, we could add another floodlight. But again, it's not a shopping center, so we don't have people walking back there. All right, and we'll comply with the rest.
I don't have any further questions for the witness.
Mr. Dargy?
In general, and I'll defer to Mr. Dewan with regard to the landscaping.
Sorry. I'll defer to Ms. Sawant with regard to the landscaping. The only comment regarding the lighting, and I'm actually playing the role of Ms. Shapiro this evening. Ms. Shapiro prepared the memo for this application, but I did get a chance to review it. The lighting, I do generally agree. The only question or the only concern that we had was regarding the lighting adjacent to that one resident that's adjacent to your property. And we asked if there's a way to modify your lighting with some sort of shielding or something so you don't have the spillover onto the adjacent property.
On the north side of the
Yeah.
property in the front? Yes, we'll look at that, and I guess that'll be a condition.
Yeah.
We'll look at that.
Other than that, I don't have any questions for Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Dargy. Ms. Sawant?
I don't have any questions either. With the landscaping, it's a fully developed site. It's not like they're proposing any new changes to the site. So these landscape waivers, they're technical in nature, and I would support granting those waivers. I don't have any other questions.
I'm sorry, one thing, Mr. Chairman. We did note, and maybe you covered this and may have missed it, with regard to the height of the fixtures. You're permitted to have 18, you're proposing 20. Are you going to reduce the height, or are you seeking a waiver?
Yes, I made a comment that we'll reduce it to
You will,
20,
okay.
to 18 feet. I'm sorry.
18, okay.
It's easy enough. It's not a heavy lift.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to firm up as well. You agreed to make them at 18?
Yes,
Okay, so it wouldn't be a problem.
not a problem.
Anything else, Ms. Sawant? No? On my left of the engineer?
No.
Nothing. Nothing on the right? Mr. Clancy?
The only question I had was the tank you're putting in is 12,000 gallons?
Yes,
Okay. I had that as the one that was coming out, so. no
they're the
problem.
same.
Got it. Thank you.
In and out, same size, right?
Yes,
Thank you.
no increase.
Is there the normally there'd be emergency shut-offs, et cetera, that all go along with that?
Yes.
As any tank would be?
Yes, we have to meet the
the fire-
federal and state regulations. They're pretty much the same with regard to tanks.
And is this enclosed within the yard or just by the yard?
The yard is fenced in, so it's secure. So this is in the fenced-in yard, yes.
And-
It's like your DPW,
Right, and I just wanted to make sure we're on the right page here.
yes.
The controls, obviously, are probably only capable if you have a card or if you have a
Correct.
punch
Yes.
number, right?
Right. You or I couldn't go over there and just turn on
Right.
the nozzle.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I'm good.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Try to make it brief.
Did a great job.
Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
First name is Edward, E-D-W-A-R-D. Last name is Colling, K-O-L-L-I-N-G.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Colling, thanks for joining us tonight. Would you mind giving the board the benefit of your education and experience?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm also certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. Graduated from Rutgers University in 1974, and I've been in the field of planning since then, so it's almost 50 years now. I had been, in the past, I was Director of Planning for the City of Jersey City. I was Director of Economic Development in the City of Elizabeth. I was a principal in the firm Dresdner Robin and Associates, who's based in Jersey City. Right now, I'm sort of semi-retired and continuing to practice planning in my spare time, which is a lot now.
Well, thank you. Certainly, we're going to accept your credentials, and I let you go on a little bit because I knew you had a lot behind you, and I wanted those at home to understand what goes into holding a position like yourself. So thank you for putting all those credentials. I see they pulled you back in, however.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. We accept.
Mr. Colling, have you testified before on behalf of JCP&L?
Yes.
So you're familiar with the concerns that JCP&L has when they come in front of boards across the state?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you had the opportunity to review the plans and the engineering memo from Ms. Sawant as it relates to this application?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and have you formulated testimony as it relates to its impact on the zoning code in the town of Old Bridge?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yes, as the engineer described it, there's really not a lot changing on the site. It's really more of a modernization of equipment, more or less than an actual expansion. Nonetheless, we are here for a D2 variance for an expansion of a non-conforming use. As you heard, we're removing underground storage tank, replacing it with an above-ground storage tank that's going to meet all current standards, double-walled, and all those wonderful things that the engineer described. And that's really going to improve the site environmentally because it's easier to monitor it. The chances of having a ground contamination or contamination to the groundwater is much reduced. So I think that there's positives in that alone. This is a more environmentally sound or sensitive approach, and I think JCP&L is really, as you heard that witness describe, is doing this throughout the state. They're working with the DEP and upgrading their systems to make sure that their facilities are more environmentally sensitive. When you look at a D2 variance, I'm sure the board is aware, typically, the proofs are not as stringent because a D2 variance deals with a use that's already existing, so it could remain as is for indefinitely. So in some instances, for instance, the instance of Burbridge versus Mine Hill, they looked simply at even an aesthetic improvement, and that was considered to be enough to meet the positive criteria. But in this case, I think that the benefits are more substantial because, as we talked about, the removing of the underground tank and replacing it with an above-ground tank makes it easier to monitor in case of any spillage or anything like that. So that's a positive. It's going to meet all current regulatory and safety standards with the shutoffs and all that kind of stuff, so which is really an upgrade. That's a positive. So I think you can look at subparagraph 2J, which discusses the promotion of the conservation of natural resources and the prevention of degradation to the environment. So this is going to address that purpose of the municipal land use law. I think it also helps to secure safety from fire, panic, and other natural and man-made disasters because it's going to be a safer operation. I think the large size of the property, it's over 4 acres as compared to the 1 acre required in this particular EDO zone, shows that the property is appropriately designed, appropriately sized, and located, providing sufficient space in an appropriate location for this type of use. And lastly, I think that we meet subparagraph 2A, which we're in the approval of this application would be a municipal action that would guide the appropriate use and development of this property, and it would upgrade it, actually. So I think we've met the positive criteria. In terms of the negative criteria, there should be no substantial detriment to the intent or purpose of the zone plan. It's not going to expand this use within the zone, this particular zone, so it's not going to have any additional impacts whatsoever. One of the uses that is permitted in the EDO is light industrial. This use shares some similarities to that, so I don't see it creating any additional impacts on the zone plan. And likewise, no substantial detriment to the general welfare or the public good. There's no increase in traffic. The only changes will be improvement to the environmental aspects of the site. So there's no additional impacts of any sort in a negative perspective to the public good or general welfare. So I think we've met the positive and negative criteria for the D2. In terms of the waivers and any bulk variances, they are all pre-existing conditions, so there's going to be no additional impacts. There's no, so I think we meet the negative criteria simply just by looking at that aspect alone. And if you look at the beneficial aspects, I won't repeat them, but it's all the same things that would apply to the D2 variance. So I think the C2 criteria could be applied wherein the benefits would substantially outweigh any detriment for those bulk variances and design waivers. And that's my testimony.
And I don't have any questions from Mr. Colling, so whoever has questions, please feel free.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cohen. Ms. Sawant?
I have no questions.
Mr. Dargy, anything?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Let me see if the board has anything. You were rather succinct.
No, I don't.
Start on my left. No one? On the right? Do you know how long the project's going to take?
I don't know, but
Typically, would you know how long this is going to be a turnover, Mr. Anderson?
If we were to issue a PO, it would be about 7 or 8 months to get the tank, and then construction would be about 4 months.
Roughly a year.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clancy, do
I have nothing to add.
you have any other witnesses?
I have no other witnesses, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, let me go to public portion for it first, and then I'll take comments from the board, and we'll see where we go from there.
Perfect.
This is matter 39-2023Z. This is JCP&L. Their physical location is 1345 Englishtown Road. They're going to take a tank out of the ground that they use for fueling their vehicles, and they're going to put one above ground. That's about the summation of the work there. And if anyone here has a comment on that, we'd like to hear it now. So I'd ask you to either raise your hand or stand, and I'll recognize you. I think I've given ample time. No one has. I'll close the public portion. Final comments, sir?
No, thankfully, we have the proper professionals in Mr. Dickerson's testimony to explain how important that this is, not only to JCP&L, but to the site and to the Township of Old Bridge. And I look forward to having a vote, and hopefully in our favor, then we can proceed and get ready.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, it was, the testimony was succinct, as I said. You certainly have laid out the positive criteria. It's certainly been met. The negative, it's already there. I mean, we're not dealing with something that's, we have to guess at.
I would agree.
It's above ground instead of below ground. And that's pretty much it. I hope that if there's an approval, there is only an 18-foot pole there, and that I believe Mr. Dargy spoke about a neighbor where there was light emanating towards that property?
There is, the neighbor, there was some way to mitigate any light that might be on that property, yes.
Mr. Dargy, help me on that one?
You got it.
Okay.
The neighbor to the north,
So
the
it's
applicant.
going to be done, right? You're not
Yes.
going to try to do it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not up in the air?
It's not a question, yeah.
They'll work with engineering to get
We'll
that
work
done.
with whoever needs to have input.
Okay. All right, let me see how the other board members may have some comments, and then if you'd like, you want to call for a vote, I'll take one.
Absolutely.
Anybody, comments or questions? None? Anything?
Only,
Is your mic on?
yes, there is that targeted shielding lights that concentrate on a particular area and they don't spread. Could think of using those. Thank you.
Mr. Clancy, anything from you?
No,
I'll
I
get
think
back
they
to you on
checked
the
everything
vote.
off, yeah.
They're going to take, right. All right, I think the board members seem satisfied. Would you like me to call for a vote?
Absolutely,
I'll
Chairman.
ask Mr. Clancy first. We have a D2 expansion of a non-conforming use, right?
Correct.
All the bulks are pre-existing conditions, all of them?
That's correct.
Okay, so they're already there also, so. And you have design waiver, right?
That's correct.
Correct, and then preliminary and major.
All right. All right, well, let's, board members, is someone interested in approving a D2, moving a D2, I should say? for approval?
Chevalier will move the D2.
Second, Scogno.
Move to second, roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. All right, as to the bulks, the Cs, someone move them, please.
Chevalier will move them. And second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes,
Mr.
design
Singh.
waivers. Someone,
Chevalier will move it. Andrews, second.
roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and we have preliminary site plan approval.
I'll move it, Stoner.
Second, please.
Chevalier.
Very good. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and of course, final site plan approval.
Chevalier will move it.
Second, Stoner.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews? Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, we're going to have to get one of those tote boards, because I know your hand is kind of killing you if you don't catch up. Obviously, it has been passed. Best of luck. I'm glad that you're environmentally protecting the township as well. Best of luck on your project. Thank you and your witnesses for their testimony tonight.
And thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman and the board. Thank you very much.
Good night, sir. All right, we're going to go into recess 5 minutes. We're going to have a changeover from the stenographer, and we'll be back. 5 minutes, please. All right, we've returned from a quick recess. The zoning board of adjustment on June 6th. The matter I'm going to call in first, I'm going to ask for a roll call, and then I'll call the matter in.
Ms. Andrews?
Present?
Ms. Chevalier?
Here.
Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Mr. Stoner?
Here.
Chairman Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Singh?
Everybody here?
Mr. Singh, yes.
All right, the next application is a continuing application. It's 50-2023Z, All-American Ford. This is in the ED03 zone. It's block 16000, lots 4, 6.11, and 15.11. Physical location 61 Amboy Road, Old Bridges Automobile Storage and Service Center, requiring major preliminary and final site plan with D variance. This matter is being continued from March 7th. Applicant represented by Heilbrunn Pape, Peter Klauser, counsel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Peter Klauser with the firm Heilbrunn Pape on behalf of All American Ford. This is an application that we started in March. The application was originally filed to create a parking area on Lot 4 and to put a service building, a vehicle service building on Lot 6.11. When we were here last time, 3 witnesses testified. Rich Savino, the owner of All American Ford, Scott Turner, who's sitting to my right, the applicant's engineer, and Ed Essay, the applicant's architect. We've removed the building from the site. We're no longer asking for permission to have a service center. All the applicant is asking for is for permission to construct the parking storage area for new cars. We heard comments from the board, we heard comments from the members of the public about the increased number of trips across Old Amboy Road, which would be generated by the service facility, and decided for this application it didn't make sense. With the neighbors there, to put that service facility there at this time makes no sense, and to add the trips to Old Amboy Road based on the comments we received. So we've incredibly simplified the application. We're asking for a parking field. What's changed, which is important, is that the cars that would be parked in the parking field are now new cars instead of service cars, which is what was originally proposed. Parking the service cars back there is what generated the great number of trips. The new cars, as you'll hear testimony this evening, reduces the trips from, I think we were talking somewhere in the 100 area per day to somewhere between 5 and 10. So as a result of that, last time the applicant had agreed that the driveway that's shown on Lot 4 out onto Old Amboy Road would be used for emergency access only. We're going to ask that that not be the case anymore because of the reduced number of trips. And when Rich Savino testifies in a few minutes, he'll show you the route that we're proposing that the vehicles take to go back and forth. And again, that's reliant upon the fact that there are so few trips as a result of the proposed development. The witnesses this evening are Rich Savino again, Scott Turner to my right, and our planner, Mark Remsa. I have Scott Kennel in the audience. I see that your traffic person isn't here, but the traffic impact of what's proposed now has been so significantly reduced that unless the board wants to hear from Mr. Kennel or has any questions, or your professionals do, I don't plan on calling him. So if I could, I'd like to start with Scott, who was sworn in last time, qualified as a professional engineer, and ask him to introduce to you our new exhibit. When we were here last time, Scott had completed his testimony, had completed his description of the parking area, the stormwater management system, the waivers for landscaping in the parking area. All of that is behind us. It's in the record. But I do need Scott to introduce the new exhibit and confirm his ability to continue to comply with the technical comments of your professional's report. So we
He's
don't
already
need.
been sworn.
He's under oath, yeah.
You recall that you've been sworn, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Scott, tell us what's up on the screen, and I think we need to probably mark that, but I need your help, Mr. Clancy, as to where we are number-wise.
I think we're up to, there should be A5, I think.
A5, I like A5.
Yeah, A5, my list.
So tell us what A5 is.
I certainly will do that. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's nice to see all of you again. I am going to be very brief tonight. Up on the screen is a revised exhibit. It is an overall plan exhibit prepared by my office. It's dated June 6th, 2024. We've marked that as A5.
Is there a title on it, do you know? Does it have?
Yes, it's down off the sheet. It's there.
What does it say, do you know?
Yeah, overall plan exhibit.
Overall, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yeah, All-American Ford overall plan exhibit. And it is the identical exhibit that was marked in as most likely A2, if I'm correct.
Yes.
It's a Google image with the proposed site improvements overlaid on top. And as Mr. Clauser pointed out, the exhibit has been revised and the application has been revised to eliminate the service building from the project. The existing parking lot where that building was going to go will remain in its existing condition. The only exception being is the new driveway connection from the proposed parking lot located on Lot 4, and that is similar to what we had presented the last time we were here. That has not changed. The new parking lot located on Lot 4 will contain 337 parking spaces and will be used for new vehicle storage. And in total, there will be 843 parking spaces on lots 4, 6.11, and 15.1. And that includes the existing parking spaces along with all of the new parking spaces on Lot 4. We have two new review memos. We received a June 6, 2024 review memo. It's a joint engineering planning memorandum. I did review that memorandum and can agree to comply with all of those technical comments and work with staff. And we've also received a June 3rd, 2024 fire marshal review memorandum. I did speak personally with Mr. Bond and prior to the hearing, provided him with some additional information, and we can agree to comply with his staff memo as well.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chair, I have no further questions for Mr. Turner. As I said last time, he provided his engineering testimony.
The number you said total was 8 what?
843 parking spaces.
843.
Correct.
And as far as Fire Marshal Bond, you're agreeing that you will,
Will satisfy his comments, yes. He asked for 2 hydrants, which we agreed to comply with, and some fire lane striping that he said we would work out if the board, approves the application.
okay, thank you. I'll go down to the professionals. Who's going first?
I don't have any questions, but I did affirm with Fire Chief Mr. Bond that there were communications between the applicant and him, and the applicant has agreed to address any of his comments. I think there were 2 comments, right?
Correct. Yes.
Mr. Dargy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only, really not a question from Mr. Turner unless he wants to answer it. I would really like to hear some more testimony, whether it's from the applicant, Mr. Kennel, Mr. Remza, really about the number of trips that this lot will actually generate, because it's 337 storage spaces. So that means that, there's 337 cars there, and we're only talking about maybe 5-6 trips a day. It seems kind of, I'm wondering how that number jives with a 337 car parking lot. I understand that it's inventory, but you need the space because you're selling the cars. I'm just imagining if you're receiving 5 cars a day or selling a couple of cars a day at 337 cars, it's like 60-day turnover. That seems like doesn't seem like that number jives to me. But again, I'm not a car salesperson, so I would really need some more numbers and some more testimony on that.
Yeah, I think we'll get that from Rich.
Agreed.
Board members, questions?
You presently have the property on Route 9, is that correct? Your microphone, please. Sure, sorry, Ben. You presently have the property on Route 9, is that correct?
That is the
And then you
dealership
have it on Spring Valley Road by the hotel?
That is correct.
And now you're looking to go towards the back of, or the front of Route 18?
Amboy Road.
No, but it's beyond Amboy Road, it's towards Route 18, is that correct? So if you're on Route 18, you'll see the lot. We will not see the lot.
No, there's an existing lot on Route 18. When you're on Route 18, you wouldn't see this lot. If you look at the picture that's on the screen, all the way to the top of the picture is the proposed lot. Route 18 is all the way to the south of that picture.
Right, so there's a lot there now.
On Route 18.
On Route 18.
That's
And
right.
there's a lot on Spring Valley Road. And then you have it on Route 9, and we have the hotel there.
The hotel is with the Route 18 lot.
I mean, the image of that area is just nothing but cars. It's,
There is an inventory lot currently on Old Amboy Road. We're looking to expand that.
I know what you're looking to do. Aesthetic looking is just coming into Holbridge. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on my left? No? On my right?
My main concern is now that you've gotten rid of the building and you're going to have more parking spaces, are you going to have employee parking?
Well, I'll let Mr. Savino speak to that,
Okay,
but there is
because-
employee parking designated on Route 18.
Okay, because when you first came here, I ride that road, on Old Amboy Road, at least 3 times a week. And I noticed that plenty of cars were on Old Amboy Road. Now, the last 3 weeks I've gone, there have been no cars there in front of what I consider the residence. I checked and I was told that the police department doesn't consider that a street to have a no parking, yet in front of the bank, in front of the Wawa, in front of the apartment building, they all have no parking signs there. But there are no parking signs in front of the residence there. And there are more than just 3. 3 people spoke, I believe, 3 months ago. But now I counted about 8 homes over there with no parking. And as I said, 3 months ago, there were cars parked there during the day, and I've gone at different times just to take a look, because this is a very big project, and it does have impact on residents that have lived here. So that was something. I also went at night because they had complained about the lighting, and the lighting is really terrible. And that's when I had first learned about this targeted lighting, what I mentioned before to the fellows that were here before, that just concentrates on the bottom and doesn't go into someone else's backyard. So that's where my concern is, primarily with the parking for employees and also for people who do come and perhaps wait, or they're looking for new cars and they have to park the car they come in. So that's my main concern. What would you be doing in order to have the residents to feel comfortable in their own homes? Thank you.
Scott, could you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 3 lots that are there?
There are 3 single-family homes, yes, correct, along Old Amboy Road that would be what I would consider, well, not consider, they are immediately adjacent to the property in question. And I'll just point them out. They're sitting right here. There's 3 houses in there.
But there are 8 along the whole road.
Yeah, I would imagine beyond the limits of the exhibit. That's correct, yes, yes.
Yeah, they came here and they spoke, but when I drove by, I saw it was all, there are about 8 homes. One
Right.
home, I understand, is not going to be there. One on the very, very end going towards Ferry Road. There's a home, I believe, is...
Well, there's a home on Lot 4 that'll be removed
Yeah,
as part of this
Yes,
application.
I saw that one, yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's my main concern.
So as we discussed last time, we would have no objection if any of the homeowners petition the council to have no parking signs put out there. We don't have the authority to do that. But I think did you say that you observed that there were less cars parked out there since the last hearing? So you're going to hear testimony from Mr. Savino, and I'm allowed to say this to tell you what you're going to hear, I just have to make sure you hear it, is that we listened when we were here last time, and missives were sent out to the employees. Although public parking is presently permitted on that street, we heard what the board and the members of the public said. There's been additional painting of the curbs, opening of driveways. So all of those were in response, and I'm glad that you saw some effect of it.
Okay, and also, I know it's considered that the police department doesn't consider no parking, yet there are no parking signs in front of the commercial buildings and in front of the large apartment. And how did they get there if it's not considered a no parking street? Somebody had to have paid for them if the town didn't, or the police department or the Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Okay.
One question.
Yeah.
The lot, I think 4 is all the way to the north, right?
Yeah, top of that picture, yeah.
So that's going to have all new cars?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Where the building was is lots 6.11 and 15.1, right?
The building was just going to be on lot 6.11, but 5.11 is how you get to it.
Right. So are they also going to hold new cars?
They'll continue to operate as they do. This board previously approved it could either be new car storage or cars that are under repairs. I think most of it is cars that are being repaired.
So 337 is just lot 4, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's not necessarily Well, I'll let Rich speak to it. Maybe we should
No,
get
I
him
know
up
they're
here.
already approved, the other ones.
Yeah,
You're still going to have parking in there as you're using it now.
right, that is correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
You can go with your next witness.
So let's bring Rich Savino up, who is, again, the owner of All American Ford and was sworn.
He's also under oath. Still.
Just moving a little slow. Had a cortisone shot in the knee and major surgery on the other one. Does this work? How do you make this work?
Don't point it at me. Scott, pointer assistance, please.
It's kind of orange, but it's okay.
Got it?
Not really sure. Technically challenged with this.
Thanks for your patience.
You have to get a PE license to do that.
Or to make it work. So, Rich, again, you're one of the owners of the dealership here. You heard some of the representations that I've made. The first thing that I'd like you to share with the board is just talk to us a little bit about your interface with these car carriers and what the things that you've told me about the car carriers, where they should be dropping off, why sometimes you think they don't drop off, and what did we do with that northern driveway to help mitigate some of that?
Okay, you asked a lot of questions there.
I can ask him
I wanted to
again.
answer her question, but it's okay. So just to ground myself, this is where the service building was going to be put. The reason that we needed 300-plus spots was because of service. We work on roughly 100, 150 cars a day. So that's where we needed the space. But now we're not going to have the extra people, we're not going to have the extra technicians, we're not going to have the extra work. I don't presume this lot to be very full, to be honest with you, but that's where the 337 initial reason for the spots. If I'm accurate here, there's a driveway here, I think, and there's one over here, and there's a driveway across the street right over here. So the proposed was to originally keep this closed for emergency because roughly anywhere between 75 and 100 cars would have passed through the backyard of the neighbors had we proceeded with the service facility, which is excessive. And we decided at that time with the building not to use Amboy Road because that would put 100, 150 vehicles going back and forth in front of their homes. So by using it as a new car lot and to kind of ground the number of vehicles that's involved, I got to go a little bit into this. So we get approximately, I'd say 10 carriers a month. They could carry anywhere between 5 and 9 pieces. So approximately 100 units will come in a month, which would have been 150 back and forth here, as opposed to now only 100 this way. The reason that we need this driveway open is because the carriers, and I'll address what Peter had said, I'm going to open up this driveway over here. So the carriers, if they don't follow the signs, if they don't follow the letters, if they don't follow everything we've done in our power, because they don't work for me, to have them unload their vehicles on 18. And we know from the neighbors and being there all the time that we're out screaming at them all the time for disobeying. We're going to allow them to come on our lot. So if they don't pay attention to the signs, the letters, and everything else and go on 18, when they come here, there's no reason they should unload on the street because they can come into this driveway over here and unload on the, as we call it, the Route 9 property. The reason for this is the traffic that's going to come from those carriers, and I have to break this down a little bit. We have a lot of new car inventory. The display of the new car inventory is on 18, which isn't really showing here. That's probably 50% of my new car inventory. Now, and this area over here is new car inventory. So what's going to actually happen is those vehicles, hopefully they're unloaded all properly on 18. So the majority of them stay on 18. Or if they unload on my property, the majority of them will be driven to 18, and some will stay here. Less than a third of what we're going to sell is going to come out of this lot. Now, I can't be specific on the vehicles because it's up to Ford what they ship. They could ship me 100 Explorers one month, they can ship me 10 Escapes. So we moved the inventory, try to keep everything the same. But I don't presume that this lot to be full at this time. If I need to fill that lot, I'll be able to buy an island in the Bahamas to sell that many vehicles. So it's not going to be heavily packed, and this I don't feel is a problem, moving the cars short there. Otherwise, I'm going through the neighbors' backyards with those 100 trips, and then I am zigzagging through my service facility in order to get out over to here, which I don't feel would be practical. So I'm requesting to use this strictly for that movement, maybe 100, maybe 75 to 100 vehicles a month, as opposed to 75 to 100 a day over there. Now, to address the employee parking has always been on 18. We have close to 175 employees, and they are all encouraged and told to park on Route 18, giving us no traffic except foot traffic when they cross the street to get to the dealership. I don't have control of that street, and you mentioned that part of Amboy Road is no parking, but I don't have control of that, and I can't forbid them to be there. We have sent out letters to all of them, encouraged them not to park there and go to where they're supposed to. And based on what the neighbors said, they brought a lot to my attention. The 3 driveways that are there, we stopped them from parking in the driveways. We painted, I don't remember what it was, I think 20 feet on each side of the driveway in yellow so that we'd cut down the number of cars there significantly if they decide to park there. Now, because it's a public road, I don't have control of it. There are people that park there that have nothing to do with the dealership. But as you pointed out, there's a lot less cars there. And if ever any of my employees park in front of the 3 homes, it should never happen. I mean, they're told that they got to be on 18, let alone if they're going to disobey a little bit and park here, they're never going to park in front of the neighbors. So what we've done with the new car carriers, because that was a big issue, is I resent all the letters to every carrier that we had an address to, Ford Motor Company, Subaru of America. They're independent, so we don't really have control over them. We put all new signs here, signs on 18. They'd have to be blind or belligerent if they're going to stop on Amboy Road and park. And while we're there, if we see it, we run out. The employees are very sensitive to chasing them. But if I give them that driveway, they don't have an excuse in the world to park and unload cars on Amboy Road. I'm doing the best I can with the tools that I have, but again, they're independent carriers. I don't have control of them. All I can do is direct them by signs and have my employees chase them when they violate the signs. But I think opening this driveway would change it dramatically.
Could you talk to us a little bit about the lighting that was brought up by Ms. Andrews?
Well, the lighting here on the existing property is,
I'm sorry, Rich, and by the way, the prior resolution, just so that the board has that information
go
from, and it's in your professional's report, but the prior resolution, the board placed a condition that the lighting had to be turned off at 11 o'clock at night. So now that the board knows that, that's what it is, and now I'm
and
sorry.
we had shields on everything as far as I know, so we complied the first time. If it's not significant, I'll change it. But so what happened was there was a lot of robberies here. So the Old Bridge Police Department came and asked, which we had Joe Petty here testifying the last time, had asked if we could leave the lights on because it's a security issue. So since we've spoken to the police department and we intend to comply with the off at 11 o'clock, we're in the process, if it wasn't completed today, we're putting sophisticated timers in that are keyed and Wi-Fi wise enable for daylight savings time. They will go off at 11 and they will go on at sunset. So we should never have a problem unless the equipment breaks down. But we plan on all of those lights on that existing piece of property to be off by 11 o'clock in compliance. If any of those shine into the neighbors, I'll be happy to shield them. I don't believe that happens now, but I'll be happy to address that if necessary.
And I think the avenue that we could accomplish that, you would authorize your engineer, Scott, to create a lighting plan that he could share with the township engineer to make sure that that spillage doesn't occur. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, no issues with
But
that.
you're talking to them.
No. So we went from talking about 100 or so trips per day involving Old Amboy Road, and I think your testimony was somewhere between 75 and 100 in a
Per
month.
month, right,
So a significant reduction in the number of trips.
yes.
And then, yeah, I don't have any other questions for Mr. Savino. He's available. I'm sure the board and some of your professionals have questions.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the professionals, but I have one question, Mr. Savino. When you say park on 18, you're not saying physically park on 18?
No, there's a lot
You're
there,
talking
yeah.
about the 18th side of your building, right?
Right, next to the hotel. 18 is
When
like
you
6
say
acres
the
or
car
so.
carriers unload on 18, you don't mean physically
No,
on
no,
the
they-
highway, you
we-
mean on your property.
Right, that's the lot on 18.
Just
They
to
pull
get
into
that
the lot.
straight for the
Yes,
record.
I'm sorry.
right? No, I know what you were talking about.
We just keep referring to it as 18. That's nothing to do with 18. There's no curb cuts on 18.
Well,
Sorry.
sometimes I see carriers, not necessarily your place, but other, and they'll do it right on the highway. But I know you weren't referring to that, because you have passed resolutions where you say that all the carriers will come onto your property
Right.
to unload, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll go to the professionals.
I may have been looking down when you were talking about this, the driveway that you're going to allow the carriers onto your lot from. Can you show me where you?
There's a driveway, if I have it right.
You got it.
A little lot there, and it's right over here.
You're talking about the existing driveway that's,
Yes, yes,
that's there
yes.
in between you and the Wawa?
Yes.
Well, it's not, no, this is still mine here, so it's between that little piece and the dealership. But that lot's mine, and that's the driveway.
So the existing driveway that's there. Right
Yes.
now, it doesn't go anywhere. It just looks like there's a
Right.
driveway and
Right.
it sort of
We
stops.
don't
You're
really
saying-
use it.
You're saying you're going to allow that to go through?
Yes.
Okay. I guess, is there a permit from DOT that would need to be had for that driveway? Like, what was the purpose of that driveway originally? Is there, yeah, that might be something maybe
Originally,
Scott
the
can-
prior owners had that driveway. I mean, they've been there for the 15 years I've been there. There was no new driveways added, that when they were always there.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted, I'm not sure if there's confusion. That driveway exists
Right.
right now. It was blocked off by cars, but that driveway will just be opened up. So they'll still come down Old Amboy Road, but they'll make a left into the dealership, presuming they're coming from.
Oh, so they're coming down
the
Old
north.
Amboy Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
that's
they're
what I
not
was-
supposed to, but if they do, in a failed effort, we blocked that driveway to encourage them to realize they couldn't pull into that to go back to the lot on 18. That apparently, according to the neighbors, wasn't working so well, so
I
we'll let them
misunderstood.
pull in there.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about they would be coming off of Route 9 into your site. But you're saying they come down Old Amboy Road and
Yeah,
then
there's no
road.
curb cut on 9
Right,
to get to my
that's
property.
kind of what I was getting at. There is a driveway there.
They'll probably come down Spring Valley Road, come there, and then pull into my property.
Okay, all right, that's what I was trying to get at.
Just to clarify what we're thinking here, the car carrier's coming down Old Amboy Road, they're supposed to go all the way down to the Route 18 lot. They don't, a lot of times, path of least resistance, start unloading on the road. That driveway, as Rich just testified to, was blocked off, encouraged them to keep going down Old Amboy Road. And it's like the book Catch-22, that didn't work. So maybe if we open up the driveway, your testimony was, we're still gonna encourage them to go to Route 18, which is where they're supposed to go. But if that driveway's open and you got a lazy guy, and maybe he has the opportunity to turn left into there, and they'll allow them to unload there.
I think you need to clarify, because people are thinking two different things. Ideally, what you want is a car carrier to come south on 18. Make junk handle.
Or come north on 9, either way.
I'm sorry, no, I'm saying 18.
Well, they could
Route
come
9.
either way. I don't know where they
Turning
originate.
on to Spring Hill.
Spring Valley.
And then coming up north on Amboy.
No, what it's told to do is to come on Spring Valley either way from 18 or 9 and pull into the Route 18 lot. That's what they're
I
instructed to.
think people were thinking they were going to come to Ferry, make a left on Amboy, and come straight down. That's not what you're proposing.
Nope,
You
nope.
don't want that to happen.
No, they're supposed to come down Spring Valley, that's what they've been notified. Either they can come off 18 and go to Spring Valley, or they can come on Spring Valley from 9, but they have to go to the lot on 18. They're not supposed to go down Amboy Road.
Then we got it right. I'll go back to you.
Okay, that's a lot of.
Thanks for that.
A lot of good clarification, I appreciate that. And as far as the number of trips go, I'm still a little confused. So you have 70, let's say, between 50 and 90 cars you get delivered, per month. So those cars will get delivered at the Route 18 lot, let's just say, and then they'll get driven to this lot.
Well, just so I may have not have been clear, if 100 vehicles got delivered to 18, less than a third would wind up on this lot.
Okay.
Because the rest of them would stay on 18 preferably, and some, right now, these are SUVs over here, Popular Explorers and Escapes, so they would go there. What's going to wind up over here is basically an overflow at this point. You know, if I could purchase this property, half of it, that's all I'm going to need, but at this point, we're going to purchase the property, which was originally intended for, a couple hundred service vehicles, and now we're just going to use it for new car storage or new vehicle storage.
Something else too, Rich, you don't have, you're a tenant on the Route 18 lot,
I'm a yes.
and without a right to purchase that lot.
No, there is no right to purchase at this point.
So there's planning for the future that's involved here as well.
Yes, we just hope that future never happens.
Right.
And if it did, we'd have to get a lot somewhere else, because this is probably less than half of the Route 18 lot. And remember, earlier I said we have like 175, 185 employees, and the majority of them come in every day, so they're all parked on 18.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Swan, did you have anything? No? I'll go to my left.
Would you foresee coming down 9 Southwood? Coming down 9 Southwood, south, and cutting through Wawa? Isn't that the driveway that you're talking about?
No.
The back of the Wawa, there's the exit point, right? And then
Well,
directly
that's
there,
the problem is that's exit and entrance there.
and then directly across from the Wawa parking lot is that driveway.
Well, yeah, but we're not proposing
And
to
then
do
there's a
anything with
home,
Wawa.
there's a home not too far from there, right?
There's 3 homes here.
Yeah, 3
and
homes.
There's a home on this property that we're purchasing. There's only 4 there altogether. 3 residents there, but Wawa is over here. So I'm not using any of Wawa's driveways or anything to do with it. So if a carrier is traveling south on 9, they'll turn down Spring Valley to get to my 18 lot. If they're traveling north on 9, they'll turn down Spring Valley to go into my 18 lot. If they're on 18, they're going to turn where Walmart is, which is the connection between Walmart and Spring Valley, and go that way. There's no reason for a carrier in any circumstance to be on that road.
I'm concerned about the turn-in to that driveway, to make that turn with a carry of cars.
They could do it.
Whoa.
Fire lane. They just-
Mr. Scogno, which driveway?
Talking about this driveway.
The new drive, though, you're going to open up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 cars wide. They'll have no problem getting on there. At one point in time with the previous owners, this was a staging lot. And they used to pull in over here and unload their vehicles there for distribution. So we've had them come on, but mistakenly, I thought if I closed that lot, they'd get frustrated and go where they were supposed to go, but that didn't work.
And you indicated that you service 100 to 150 cars a day?
Yeah.
And where do they park now?
They're in this lot here, over here, down here, and on this side of the building.
And those are all existing operations that don't
Yes.
change.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
It would have increased some if I had the service building. That's where we're probably servicing 75 to 80 a day now. We were hoping that if I put the facility, that would raise to 100, 120, and that would have created a lot of traffic in the backyard of those
And
neighbors.
then that was a flooding area where you're going to put this parking lot, right?
No, I don't know that it's a flood area. It's got some wetlands, and we got to put some basins, catch basins, but I don't know that, you'd have to ask.
There has to be
Nancy.
some drainage. I think there is, wetlands and flooding area.
That was all addressed. That was part of Scott's testimony last time, and we have DEP permits for that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So, right at the end of your building, that's on 9?
This here,
Yeah, go up to that lot right there. That's new and used cars that you're selling there?
this here,
Yeah,
that's new cars that are there.
all new.
And this is new across the front line. As we wrap around the building, it's used.
Okay.
Would you like one? It would help. Would you like one? It would help.
Good. When you pull in, when you pull into the driveway, where are you at? Okay.
Where do you want me to be?
Where the carrier's going to pull in,
Right
off
here.
Amboy.
Right there,
All right, so he pulls in,
right? He unloads right here,
all right?
and then we'll distribute the correct vehicles either there,
And he'll exit.
here, or onto the lot on 18.
And he exits where?
He could drive completely around the building and come out any of the driveways he wants. But again, we're not encouraging that,
No, I understand.
right? We just,
But if he were there, that's how.
if he does the wrong thing, or he or she does the wrong thing, I'm going to let them come on the property. We just hope it doesn't happen.
It's all in an effort to mitigate what we're hearing from the people, from the neighbors in the area that car carriers are dropping off on the road. We're doing everything that we can to try and alleviate
Right,
that.
so when you say come on the property, you want them on the property. You don't want them on the road.
I don't want them on Amboyd Road because it's dangerous to them and dangerous for my people because they leave the cars on the street. We have to go get them. So we definitely adamantly against them being on Amboyd Road, and it's a nuisance to the neighbors. We respect that and understand it.
So would you prohibit them from doing so?
They are right now. If you look, there's all signage preventing them from unloading in that area. And the letters to Ford, to Subaru, and all the car carriers independents, there's about 5 of them, were all given letters that we will refuse deliveries unless they're on 18. But you still get a rogue driver every now and then that thinks he's smarter than everybody, and he'll stop there. So what I'm trying to do is, for that rogue driver that we don't catch, I'm gonna let him pull onto my property. Not as a habit, but just so he doesn't unload on Amboy Road.
Just a quick question, sir. You'll have electric cars also?
We have some, yes,
Some,
yes.
thank you.
Mr. Glasser?
I have no further questions from Mr. Savino. I don't know if
I don't think
Ms.
the
Andrews
board
had
does.
any
Mr.
more.
Clancy, anything?
I do not.
Thank you, Mr. Savino.
Then our next witness is Mark Remsa. He's the planner to talk about the variance relief that we're requesting.
Thank you.
You solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
My name is Mark A. Remsa.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Remsa, you are a professional planner. Could you just share with the board a little bit of your credentials?
Yes, so good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. The last time I was here was when the chairs were orange. So it's been a while since I've been here, but I've been in the planning field for over 44 years. I'm in the state of New Jersey. I'm licensed as a professional planner and landscape architect. Both my licenses are in good standing. With regard to my educational attainment, I have a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Planning and Design, a Master of City and Regional Planning, and a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in finance, all from Rutgers University.
Thank you. Would certainly accept Mr. Rems's credentials. It's been years since I've seen him here before the board. You were a regular here normally,
Yes, I used to sit on that side of the,
but then you took over the firm, I guess, and now you don't have to go out. It's nice to see you back. Obviously,
Thank you.
we accept your credentials.
Thank you.
So if you could, just share with the board a little bit of the background research that you did and the fact that you've reviewed all of these plans, you've been in all of our meetings and our prep, and you've had the opportunity to review all the professional reports.
Yes, so I visited the site, also reviewed the plans that Scott had prepared. I examined the zoning ordinance, the master plan, the reexamination report. Also, I reviewed the reports from staff, as well as the former approvals for the property.
Thank you. If you could, just discuss with the board a little bit of your analysis of the variance relief that's required.
Yeah, so when I do an analysis for a use variance, in this case, it's a D2 use variance, it's been determined that the proposed use is accessory to the existing automobile dealership, and the accessory use is on a separate lot. And there was a earlier approval back in 2015 for the parking area that Mr. Savino described, where he stores cars for servicing and some for sale and leasing. So now we're proposing to expand the parking area, and that is for the storage of vehicles waiting to be sold or leased. So when I go through that, I look at the site. I'm not going to go into great detail about the description of the site. That was done quite well by Mr. Turner. However, I do want to point out that's an unusually shaped property. It's kind of like a flag lot. All of this here is environmentally sensitive. This is all the wetlands, heavily buffered. This area here currently was a former construction yard. It is paved, but a lot of it's paved with gravel. And this is the existing bituminous paved blacktop that got the previous approvals. And you can see that this property here has an unusual shape because it wraps around the 3 residential homes. Also, I like to describe what surrounds the property because all these properties I'm going to describe to you are in the EDO3 zone. They're not a residential zone. So to the north, that's the excuse me, let me get to my notes here. So to the north is the Elks, and you can see the parking area there. To the east, across Old Amboy, is the Wawa and then the car dealership. And also to the east, but on our side of Amboy, Old Amboy, this is the area where the 3 homes are. They're also in the EDO3 zone. So, and then down here, you've got the hotel, and all here is heavily wooded area. So everything you see here on this map is in the EDO3 zone. And the homes here are residential in nature, and they're an island surrounded by the non-residential zoning district. So I described to you what surrounds the property. I'm not going to go into great length about the proposal because Mr. Savino did a very good job describing the operations and how this is going to be for the overflow for storage of those automobiles. So the EDO3 zone allows a whole host of commercial uses that could go on this property. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but retail sales, offices, medical offices, all kinds of other types of uses that certainly would generate much higher traffic volumes than the storage of the vehicles and the moving of them 100 a month. So, okay, so we need to now summarize the variances that are involved. So the first one is the D2 variance, that is for the expansion of the non-conforming accessory use for the parking on Lot 4. Also generated by this proposal is a bulk variance, and it's right around here where the parking separation between the property line and the parking is supposed to be 25 feet. And I think because of the way the grading is and there's a wall, it comes a little bit closer to the property line. It's 21 feet. There are other pre-existing non-conforming conditions, but this application is not exacerbating or changing them. That was the buffer area that is along Old Amboy. That was part of that earlier approval. And then there are a number of parking design exceptions. We are required to have a 10-foot by 20-foot parking space. That's typically for a commercial setting where you have customers coming and going, opening the car doors to get in. These are all, I believe, 8.5 by feet wide by 18 feet long. And the reason for that is there are no customers coming across and using this. So this will all be by employees only. And so there is no real need to have the extra wide parking space. So now I have to talk about the proofs. So when we're talking about the use variance, we have to talk about the positive criteria and the negative criteria. And the positive criteria has two parts to it. So the first is the special reasons. Why is this proposal, or does this proposal promote the purposes of zoning? And that pertains to the municipal land use law, and that's NJSA 40:55D-2. And what I'm going to do is give you the letter section of the law, and I'm going to paraphrase the purpose. So the first one is to provide adequate light, air, and open space. And that pertains to is there sufficient open space provided around this proposal? Well, the ordinance requires that anytime, even though if there's residential use in the EDO3 zone, you still have to maintain a 50-foot buffer, a landscape buffer. And that's what's being provided here. Scott Turner provides on his site plan that 50-foot wide and heavy landscaping that he's proposing. And I think I heard him say that he's willing to work with staff to enhance it however they think it should be enhanced. So with all of this being left natural, all this woodland here, all this landscape buffering here and here, and then the compliant buffer here, I believe that there's sufficient light, air, and open space being provided. So the next one is G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of land uses, one of which is commercial. And this is a use that supports this commercial use here, and as well as what's happening down on Route 18. To provide a desirable visual environment. And I heard before that there's going to be a lot of parking. Because of the unique shape of this property, it provides for excellent buffering. As a matter of fact, people along Old Amboy Avenue here, traveling here, won't even see what's happening back here because it's a long, narrow part of the staff of the lot, and with all the landscape buffering, that they really won't be able to see what's going on anywhere back here. And I think because of the attractive landscaping that's proposed, will also contribute toward the desirable visual environment. The next one be J, and that's to prevent urban sprawl and the degradation of the environment. So what's being proposed here is really reusing that contractor's area that's all open and gravel area now. And this reuse of this area makes good sense for putting this parking area in place. Next one would be M, and that is to provide the more efficient use of land. And the same argument goes toward M, and that is we're reusing something that's already been disturbed, and that this makes for efficient use of land, and it makes efficient use of land that's close by to the existing commercial use that's been very successful. And so then I come back to A, because of all those other purposes of the law that are being promoted, it promotes the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. The second part of the positive criteria is the site suitability requirement.
Mark, let me interrupt you. Before you go into site suitability, and we'll come right back to there, you mentioned an important one. I think it was item J with regard to preservation of the environment.
Yes.
So you indicated that the parking lot's going to be located in an area that's presently disturbed for the most part.
Right here.
And As far as you know, and as far as we know, from the research that you've done, there are no permits or DEP approvals for that presently disturbed area.
That is correct.
But as part of this application, the DEP has been notified of the proposed use, and they've had the opportunity to evaluate, based on what you heard from Mr. Turner's testimony, the impact on the wetlands.
Yes, and also the stormwater management as well.
And then as part of, you're familiar with, as part of the DEP approvals, there is recordings in place that will then protect all of those wetlands in our deed books.
That is correct. It's required by DEP.
So now the use, rather than what it is presently, will be regulated by the state and its effect on the environment.
Absolutely. And it also will be designed according to the new stormwater regulations, which now will collect the water rather than having it overland flow and going into the wetlands. It now will be collected and then treated according to the stormwater management system that Scott designed.
So when you say paving a parking lot helps protect the environment, we have to dive into it a little bit more to understand how that works, and that's what we just did.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, back to site 2.
No, that's okay. You pointed out a very important aspect. All right, so the second part of the positive criteria is the site suitability. And I apologize if I'm sounding a little bit redundant when I describe this, but this speaks to this part of the test. So the site is currently used for storing of vehicles, and that's this section here. And also, this site is currently disturbed here, and this is where the road comes in, the gravel road comes in and into the big gravel area that's in here. So ideally, the reuse of that area and then the creation of a new parking area with all those stormwater management provisions on this particular site makes this suitable for this proposed use. Also, it's right across the street from the main commercial use that it's going to support. The property is very successful and it's growing, and I'll talk a little bit more about that with the purposes of the zone and the master plan, but this site is ideally suited to serve this particular use here. And you also heard from Mr. Savino that it's going to help provide for the relief for that errant delivery truck to pull into here. So now he can have his proper move storage over here and have the proper circulation should an errant truck come to the Old Amboy area. Okay, and the negative criteria.
Before we do that, let's
Yes.
stick with site suitability, because I think there's one important factor that I'd like the board to consider. You testified that the property is located in the EDO3 zone.
Yes, it is.
Is one of the principally permitted uses in the EDO zone a private parking area?
It permits private and public parking areas.
And we're following Ms. Swan's direction with regard to the expansion of the pre-existing use. But doesn't the fact that the governing body determined that this area in their ordinance is appropriate for parking speak to the site suitability?
It does. I was going to save that for the last part, but yes.
Say it a bunch of times.
Yes. I wanted to avoid being redundant, but yes, that policy that's in the ordinance says that this area is suitable for such a parking area.
Okay. So we are asking the board for variance relief, but the site is technically zoned to have parking.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so the negative criteria also has two parts. One is we have to look at is there any substantial detriment accruing to the public good here? And the focus is looking on the surrounding properties. So to the north is the club property up here, the Elks. I see no detriment caused by this parking area next to another large parking area. And we are, in fact, providing the additional landscaping and buffering here. To the east, I don't see any substantial detriment. These residents are an island within a non-residential area. However, the ordinance requires a 50-foot buffer to protect these folks here. And I believe that the parking and the elimination of the service building with such a lower volume of traffic being generated from this area here will have very little detriment, if any, to the residents. Now, to the south, you've got the hotel. I see no detriment at all. And to the west, all this heavily wooded area, which is just a continuation of what we have here on the property. So I see no detriment at all. So the second part is we have to reconcile with the master plan, and the which is the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. Now, I'm going to go back to what Peter said, is that does the EDO3 zone contemplate parking areas? And it does. It's right there in the permitted principal uses. This is similar, this type of use is similar to the public and private parking areas that are permitted in the ordinance. But in terms of the master plan, the EDO3 zone has a very specific purpose. And I'm going to read from that because I think what we're proposing here will help achieve this purpose. And that purpose is to permit a mix of office, retail, and light industrial uses to allow the township to attain the goals of accommodating market forces, increasing the local rateable base, expanding the local and regional jobs base, providing a more diverse mix of goods and services to residents and businesses within the municipality and the region, and utilizing suitable land for development in a more efficient, functional, and aesthetic manner while controlling and managing highway access and traffic congestion, minimizing impacts on adjacent and nearby residential development, and protecting environmentally sensitive areas. And all those aspects I had talked about when I talked about the promoting of the purposes of the municipal land use law. And this will help sustain the economic viability, which is a key goal of the EDO3 zone. And also, those goals are also reflected in the master plan and echoed in the reexamination report. The 2017 master plan reexamination report recommended the creation of the new EDO3 zone, and it was adopted. It also considered community sustainability, including the jobs to housing ratio, open space, woodland preservation. Well, these properties, this part of the property here is all going to be left untouched. And so I think the protection of these areas, we've got the DEP approvals, we also have the purposes of the EDO zone being promoted as well. So in conclusion, I believe the use variance for this property and the associated bulk variances and design exceptions can also be approved.
Thank you. I have no further questions for Mr. Ramsey. He's available to the board and your professionals.
Thank you. Mr. Wan?
I don't have any questions. That was a thorough testimony.
That was what?
That was a very thorough testimony. I don't have any questions.
Yes, it was. Mr. Darcy?
I likewise do not have any questions.
Start with the board on my left of the planner. Mr. Clancy?
No, sir.
Any other witnesses?
I don't have any other witnesses, Mr. Chair. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
I know that you'll open it up to the public. I also know that you have 5 voting members here this evening. So I suspect that you'll open it up to the public at this time, and then when you conclude the public, I would just like a minute or two to address the board.
Sure.
Okay.
Exactly what I had in mind.
We got a mic for the public? Certainly join me here.
All right, this is matter 50-2023Z. All-American Ford is the applicant here. Seeking major preliminary and final site plan with D variance. I'm going to open this matter up to the public for questions as to testimony that you've heard this evening. Anybody wants to be heard, please raise your hand or stand. You can. First of all, I'm gonna let you sit first. Ms. Miller?
Where's the pointer?
Just state your name, please, for the record.
Kathy Miller. I
Okay.
live at 57 Old Amboy Road.
Ms. Miller, I'll advise you that I know you testified at the last hearing. You were placed under oath at that time.
Yes.
That oath continues.
Yes.
So you're still under oath, ma'am.
Okay, I did have a bunch of questions, but now that everything changed, I'm not sure. Some of them will still apply. But first I want to ask, who's going to be using this driveway?
The testimony from Mr. Savino was that the employees that move the cars around on the lots would be using that driveway.
Why would they need to? They're going to bring the cars in that way?
The cars would be delivered to the Route 18 lot and then from there delivered throughout the site.
So the cars are going to be dropped off either here or down here, right? Route 18. Then they're going to drive them up here and load, or are they going to come through this back roadway?
First way you showed it. The first way that you showed it.
Okay, because I live right there, and a lot of their employees are young guys, and I know how they drive, and they are typical young folks. And my concern is the way they will be driving in there. My other concern is the lighting here, which all the lighting down here is very bright. And I think this lighting is going to be very disturbing. I spend it's dark now, but I do spend a lot of time outside. My concern is I'm always going to be looking out there looking for would-be robberies, being that you say that the police are concerned with robberies. I think I'm going to be concerned with people going and stealing catalytic converters. But anyway, so one of my questions was, what time will the lights go out? You said 11 o'clock. Do they need to stay on that late? I do believe a long time ago that I had mentioned 11 o'clock because that's what I thought, but I read somewhere that it was 10:30. But if it's only new cars, why can't it go out at 8 o'clock?
I hear your question. I'll ask my client.
And I think what I've read is that they were only going to keep security lighting on. So I'm wondering how many lights back there are security. At one time, I counted the lighting. I don't know if it was 12 lamps back there or not, but then I wondered how many were security lights, because I believe that's all that they were saying would stay on there. Okay, so in your diagram, you had parking over here. Now, is this only going to be a roadway without parking?
There's still parking there. Yeah, there's
Okay, but in the diagram provided, it shows about 20 parking spaces over there. Not what you have here, what is,
proposed.
that was proposed, and what I was able to see online. This new proposal was not shown online. Okay, and my other question was there was going to be a bar over here. I guess that's no longer there because it was going to be an emergency road.
Right, there
And it's
would
no
not be
longer-
that, but we would have no objection if you would like that or the board finds it necessary. That could be gated at night. So when the dealership shuts down.
Oh, I would definitely want to gate it at night because, again,
can
you're
do
going to
that.
have would-be robberies.
It's in our interest and yours, so that can be gated at night, absolutely.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, probably employees will be using this to go over to the Wawa to get their lunch.
That is not employee parking, ma'am.
Okay, but there's going to be a roadway here, or are you no longer doing that roadway?
There's a connection between the two lots.
Okay. Will there be flatbeds and wreckers coming down here?
No, ma'am. That is not the testimony.
Okay, because right now, when they come down the road here, they are rambling, they're loud. A lot of the flatbeds are actually the dealership flatbeds, and believe me, they speed down there, and there's a lot of racket when they come through. They're not in the least bit considerate of the residencies. Okay. Okay, so now that there's no service center, there's no longer going to be any concern with where the garbage receptacle is going to be.
correct.
That was one of my questions. There's an abandoned well back here. Is that going to be filled? Like, there's 2 abandoned wells. Will you be filling them?
Yeah, the wells will be eliminated, they'll be closed in accordance with the health department's regulations.
Okay. My other question was, there's the inlet that you have proposed for over here. And then you're going to have your roadway over here. And I know the runoff water from my house and Michelle's, there's a lot, when we have a lot of rain, there's a lot of water back here. And I'm just wondering if the one inlet will handle all the water that goes over there, because, of course, this is not big, I'm able to enlarge mine. The water from my yard runs this way, Michelle's water runs this way, and there's a large pocket of water that's right below where the elevated parking lot is. And then you're going to put the roadway there, and the roadway is going to block the natural runoff that's there. So I'm just wondering if the location of the B7, I think it's called B7 inlet, if it's going to be substantial.
So you brought this up last time, or someone did. I don't want to put words. Was it you? And Scott, our engineer, had testified. First of all, we can't push any more water onto your property than whatever naturally flows now. That's just by rule.
Yeah.
But then, in addition to that, Mr. Dargy does not work for the applicant. He works for the township and to protect you. And Scott testified that he'd be more than willing to work with Mr. Dargy or Ms. Shapiro to provide any relief that could possibly be done, which would include adding additional inlets.
Okay, because I think an additional inlet will probably be
We
needed.
have no problem with that.
And let me see. Okay, so are you now going to be putting curbing over here? And if so, can you put an additional storm drain on the road over there? I think the road, when Wawa went in, or when the dealership was doing different things, I think the road needed more storm drainage. Right now, the only storm drainage there is in the Wawa driveway.
I could either ask Scott to come back up, or I don't know if, Rajesh, do you have any information what those improvements would be?
Apologize. And certainly, Mr. Turner can speak to this a little bit more, because his firm did a more detailed study, but based off of the plans, the road does drain in that northerly direction. So I don't know that there's any drainage. Is there an adverse drainage condition there that maybe you could enlighten us to along the roadway?
Is there water, Ms. Miller,
Okay,
coming from the road
in
into
front
your
of-
front yard?
Okay, so I look closely at the way the road is slanted. In front of my house, most of it does go more towards Wawa, but there's one section that the road actually slants towards my property. And of course, water underneath my house is a concern to me. I'm always having to drain it. However, in front of Bob's house, which is over here, they get a lot of water in their front yard. It's pretty bad, actually, when we get a lot of rain. Bob has renters, and I don't think they complain, but I know if I lived there, I'd be complaining.
May I ask you a question? Is that pooling water, or is this water coming from the street onto this property?
It's just we're high water table, so I get,
pooling water.
I have to keep a sump pump.
So
Anytime we have substantial
apologize,
rain, I
Mr.
have a sump
Chairman.
pump.
No, Mr.
Is
Dunn,
it,
could you help
is
me
it
with that?
surface, is it rainwater, or are we talking about groundwater?
I think it's both, because if I dig far enough, there's underground streams
Right.
that you might hit there. Yeah.
So, I mean, what we can do is we can work with Mr. Turner's office to evaluate it. There's obviously, it's a township roadway, but since the applicant is proposing improvements along the roadway, there's certain things that the township has the ability to ask the applicant to address, and there's certain things that the township is not allowed to legally ask the applicant to address. So we can evaluate that with Mr. Turner's office and consult with the township's attorneys to make sure that.
Anything that they could do that will help the water situation.
Yeah, the water situation definitely will be, it certainly will not be any worsened, but it will be improved. It's certainly in the rear yards, because we have worked with Mr. Turner's office to put some additional inlets there. We've talked about that. It's not shown on the current plans, because I think they were more concerned with addressing the larger concerns that the board had expressed. But they have agreed to put the additional stormwater drains in to make sure that the backyards of all these properties are not inundated with water, because right now there is relief. It flows through this property, so we want to make sure that it continues to flow without ponding on your property. So that will definitely be addressed, and the roadway is something we can take a look at as well.
Yeah, if they could. I mean, the inlet in the back should help somewhat, but I have concerns with the water coming off the road as well, because every time they pave the road, they would elevate the roadway, and I've had to put fill in my yard 3 times. And I know when we put our driveway in, it was below the road, and now the roadway actually covers part of my driveway. So next time they pave, they're gonna have to definitely do some milling to drop down the elevation, or put storm drains in there to collect the road water. Okay, and one of the questions was about where the garbage bin was gonna be. One more question. Whenever they have I call it a jumbo-sized tow trucks dropping off large commercial vehicles, will they not be dropping them off on the road? Because on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, there was one that was actually being dropped right alongside of where it says no loading and unloading. There was an American Ford employee there, but they weren't stopping the guy from unloading, and the guy said the state police told them to drop it there. So and my question is, whatever, and I brought a picture to show an example. And this is not recent, but this is, you have your large car carriers, and then you have your large commercial vehicles. And I'm just wondering where they're going to be dropped off. Because they shouldn't be dropped off on a roadway, but I was talking to a person that does drive a tow truck, and they said that's where they drop off and pick up their cars, is on the road. So I don't know in this situation what that's.
As Mr. Savino testified earlier, all vehicle deliveries are to be on the All-American Ford property.
And I think they should be. It's just not all the time. There's a lot of improvements. They have made improvements, and the majority of the car carriers are going to the Route 18 lot. I still see some car carriers unloading on what is it?
That's
Spring Valley. On occasion, I'm going to say at least once a week, I might see somebody unloading over there. Most of them I've been seeing going into the lot. So there is some improvement, it's just not perfect. My other concern, which I think you could take care of, over in here, you said that you're going to keep the canopy. Well, there's 75-foot trees behind my property. And this one, the top is dead. The bottom is still alive, but the whole top you could see is dead. And these limbs are falling onto my property. And if I'm back there, I could get killed by one of these falling. They're quite large. So
These trees that are on your property?
they're not on my property.
these
They're
trees.
about 8 foot back. But they were saying they were going to keep them intact, and I think that that one tree, it's dying, it should be taken down, or at least
Well, that's the 50-foot buffer area in the rear that Mark had mentioned earlier, which is reviewed by the township's landscape architect when construction actually begins.
So they'll be
if-
cutting that.
they-
I
they
mean,
have
it's
to
a
improve.
hazard.
They have to improve that
I
area.
did call the township to find out if there's anything that could be done about it, and they said as long as the whole tree is not dead, and it's not, that they can't do anything about it. The other thing is one of the 75 to 100 foot trees is a sweet gum. And this is what my backyard looks like from that tree, so I'm hoping that they could take the top off that, so I don't have to deal with this every year. There's thousands of them throughout my whole backyard, the wind blows. And I've turned my ankle many a times walking across there. I mean, that's excessive.
My neighbor does the same thing to me. I have to clean up his leaves every year.
Well, my neighbor don't clean this up, I have to clean it up.
He doesn't come onto my property to do it either.
Yeah, my neighbor does not clean anything behind the fence. He doesn't take care, he doesn't live there, so he doesn't take care of it, so. Anyway, I think that's all my questions.
So, Ms. Miller, work with the township we will work with the township engineer's office with regard to the draining in the area. The lighting plan will be reviewed by the township engineer to make sure that it's shielded. We're going to have them turned off at 11, which is what this board's condition previously was.
Yeah, I think it was 10:30.
And then I'm going to ask our engineer to look at that buffer area that we have to maintain behind your property as part of the landscaping when they have to build that out to look for hazards like that.
Okay. And again, at that lighting, I think it's going to be very disturbing. I'm hoping that you could have it shut off sooner. I think the other parking lot, they agreed not to put it on at all, and I'm talking about this area. They wanted to put lighting in there, and then they said that they wouldn't put lighting in. From my back window, my kitchen, which I look out all the time doing the dishes, or I'm sitting on my back deck, I see right over the fence that's sitting there. I mean, there's no obstructed view, so you're going to have to put some pretty tall shrubbery up there in order to block my view from everything that's going on. I'm glad that the service center is not going in, because I'd be watching those employees all day long.
Who brought up the question about the clickers? Was that you? About them pushing the buttons?
Oh, no.
Was that you? That was your neighbor? She's not here. I forgot to mention that earlier when Mr. Savino was here, and I could bring him up if you need me to. I've actually taken her advice. They're painting and numbering the parking spaces so that the tags have numbers on them. If you want to hear it from Mr. Savino's mouth, you can. I forgot to ask him that question, but you made me think of it, Ms. Miller, so that they would at least reduce the number of that beep beeps going on there by using a numbering system.
Yeah, it gets pretty noisy back there between the horns beeping, then they have their portable compressors. I don't know if they're changing tires or whatever it is that they have to go back there. But there's so much noise caused by the Wawa. I mean, I'm very concerned with what would go on, especially with the service center behind me. Is like, I think my life would be totally miserable
That's why we got rid of it.
because, and my health, because there's so much aggravation that comes from the Wawa, mainly because there's so many large commercial vehicles going in and out of that back driveway all day long, and some of the flatbeds from the dealership, and they all break in front of my house, they all shift in front of my house. And you got every single type of commercial vehicle that you could think of that comes in and out of that back Wawa driveway. I wish that the commercial vehicles would be restricted from that driveway. But that's up to the township. I don't mind the Wawa being there, but the noise between refrigerator trucks and commercial vehicles is ridiculous. All right, that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Ms. Miller, thank you very much. Just to let you know, Mrs. Miller, I have the resolution from 2015 in front of me. The time was 11 o'clock for the lights, but I would certainly hope that perhaps the applicant would consider maybe moving that back an hour to help you and your neighbors. But once again, they do have the permission for 11. I'll ask them nicely if they might consider that. Thank you. Sir, you want to be heard? Did you speak at the last meeting? Yes, I did. Your name is?
Just briefly, Robert Ferraro, 49.
Okay, yeah, I have you. You're still under oath, okay, sir?
I just have two questions. The car carriers, what is the procedure once they show up? Do they just start unloading, park and just start unloading? Or do they go inside first and clear everything and then start unloading? Is there a procedure that they have to follow?
Rich? I don't know the protocol, but I'm sure Mr. Servino will tell us.
I think he shut it off.
Yeah, I think there's a button on the side, Mr. Servino, on that mic.
Unfortunately, the procedure is they start unloading, which they shouldn't. They're supposed to notify us that we're there, and then we would easily chase them. But a lot of them get there and just immediately start unloading, and then we have to catch them, and if they're halfway through the unloading, disturbing argument takes place. So we're trying to go above them to their bosses and those companies and say, we're not going to allow that truck to make deliveries. You'll have to find another carrier. So we're trying.
So if they show up and they would come in with paperwork to get cleared first, then somebody could tell them
Right.
to go to 18 to unload.
But they don't. They unload, and then, right.
Second question is, where you're proposing the north end for the parking area, I guess it's gravel now, and you're gonna put blacktop down. That's wetlands there now?
No.
No?
Not where we're building.
Okay.
You can't.
Okay.
Yeah, and it,
There was, to the left is a basin.
Yes.
Up there, so that's not wetlands, it's clear.
there is wetlands there, but not where we're improving. We're not disturbing the wetlands. Am I right, Scott? Yeah, yeah. And we have permits for that from the DEP. That's been confirmed by them.
And going down to the south of where all the trees are, on the south portion, that's all wetland.
That's all wet.
So no parking lot can be expanded in that area.
Not until they change some pretty significant laws, which I don't see happening.
Those were my two questions.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to be heard? Close the public portion.
So if I could just have a minute, Mr. Chair, just to go over procedure. I also want to, maybe I can answer that lighting question now. All right, so if I could just have 1 minute, please?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
If you need a few, I'll take a quick break for the stenographer,
Why
okay?
don't we do that?
5-minute recess. We've returned from that last quick break. We're still on matter 50-2023Z. I would ask for a roll call, please, Ms. Burchelli.
Certainly. Ms. Andrews?
Here.
Ms. Chevalier?
Here.
Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Mr. Stoner?
Yeah.
Mr. Singh? Chairman Sullivan?
Here.
Okay.
Clauser, we've come to the end of your direct testimony, I would assume? We've come to the end of your direct testimony from your witnesses.
We have. Just before we move forward, with regard to the lighting, I talked to, while we were in the break, I spoke with my client, I spoke with your engineer and our engineer, and I think a collection of shielding lights, selectively turning off troublesome lights earlier can all be achieved. It's just a matter of, they got to figure out which ones are bothering Ms. Miller and even inviting her to point out ones that are troublesome.
I think that's understandable, and I think with modern technology, with infrared cameras, there's not a lot of need for intense lighting anymore, but obviously that's up to the owner, how he wants to
Yeah, I think that
secure his lot.
Yeah, I think that a condition that we work with your staff to
We would appreciate
alleviate
that.
those is fine.
I think the neighbors would appreciate that, too. Again, balancing the security that you need for the property, as well as considering the neighbors.
Correct. I think another thing we discussed with Ms. Miller, which we actually talked about before we even started this evening, was creating a fencing off that in an attractive way, fencing off that driveway at night for added security. So I think that's probably something else that, if we have a positive resolution, will find its way in there.
I think that would be very good, too, to deter people from even thinking about going back.
Yeah, I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on, ma'am. Let Mr. Clauser finish, please.
So we're complete. The public has been opened and closed. We only have 5 voting members. We all know the rules. You know, we need a supermajority of members. So we have Debbie here. I'm going to ask that she prepare a transcript. I'll have it delivered to the board. And then if I could return for a vote only. The only thing I'll do is the things you're used to hearing me saying, a very quick little recap. I'll bring no other witnesses with me, and then I'll just simply ask for a vote. But I wanted to get the lighting issue and the blocking off the driveway issue done now, so that that's not something that's new and introduced next time. And then
That makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
and I'll go out on a limb and I'll say, I'm going to ask everybody now if they have a problem. I would like them to bring it up now while we have the professionals here, because I'm assuming they're not coming back.
No, because the matter will be
So,
closed.
As long as the members understand, this is the time to ask either Mr. Turner as a professional engineer, Mr. Colling? Was that the other one? Whatever.
Well, Mr. Remsa.
Oh, well, no,
that
Mr.
was
Remsa.
That's Mr. Remsa.
Mr. Remsa doesn't come up two times, only
no.
once. But if you have any questions, let's do it now while we're here, finish this up, and we'll come back for a vote at the next point. But if it's a matter that concerns you, they may be able to work on something. Anybody on my left? None?
I just had a quick
ahead.
question. Would you consider helping her with her trees in the 50-foot buffer?
Yeah, I think that was something I mentioned as well, that, you know,
All right,
you
great.
got to be out there to work on that buffer anyway.
Yeah, all right.
And you have your landscape, we have a landscape plan submitted, so your professionals are already looking at it.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, I would also think that if there's brand-new cars coming in, I don't think Mr. Savino wants to have to clean those or detail them after. I would assume it's some sappy thing that comes down, so.
Well, those are the little sticky balls you used to
Oh,
throw
okay.
at each other when
Yeah,
you were a
well,
kid.
I'm sure that's in his best interest as well.
Yeah.
Anything else, Vice Chairman? Ms. Andrews, anything?
Only looking into the, putting no parking signs in front of residences. Because I still think, what I thought when I didn't see them for the past 3 weeks, what I was thinking is, yes, they're not going to have them now, and then everything may go through, and then everybody will do what they have to do again. But just look into that point, because as I said, the whole street has to be a no parking street. I don't understand why only partial. That doesn't make sense.
And just from my experience, professional experience, just because there's a sign doesn't make it legal. So sometimes signs are erected and therefore informational use only. People sometimes adhere to them, sometimes they don't. That is a municipal road. I saw the signs that you're talking about. I doubt that there's an ordinance that supports it. So I don't know that anything could be done.
Okay.
It's something, I'm sure Mr. Clauser will look into it. He has the law degree, not me, but I think he knows exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate. It's not our land. It's municipal-owned land. And think about it, Ms. Andrews, just very quickly. You know, an issue like that, I believe, goes to the governing body for them to review. Put no parking signs in front of the neighbor's house. Don't do that. When I have my kids over, they need to park in front of the house. So it has to be something that's debated and decided. I don't, you know, it's not when I can't go on somebody else's land and just say you can't park in front of your house anymore. I know what we're trying to do, stop other people from parking in front of their houses, but there's things that have to be considered. But yeah, it's certainly something we'll look at with the staff and see if it's feasible, but I don't know if it is.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. And Counselor, anything?
No, well, just, we have D2, and then we have the 2C variances for setbacks, right? Minimum parking, the buffer from the right-of-way, which is pre-existing non-conforming, and rear and side lot line parking area setback, 25 or 21 is proposed. And then, do you agree that design waivers that are outlined in the June 6th memo
Those are what we're
are
asking
the design waivers that are being requested here?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we have an idea of where we're headed with that, that if anybody has any other questions on that,
Right,
that's
the park-
basically the extent of it.
The stalls are a parking waiver.
Yeah, the stalls are, and I think we have some relief from the landscaping that you would normally see in a Target parking lot that doesn't make sense here.
Okay.
All right, well, you've heard the thoughts of the board and certainly the chair. And the professionals have not spoken against or countered most of your testimony tonight.
So I would ask that we be carried. I think we can go, I'm not going to speak, but I mean, this is a 2-minute affair when I show back up again, so I'd like to see when we can.
Is the
come back.
20th available or no, this month?
20th is pretty booked, but I mean, we have like 7 applications on already. But do you want to, just for a vote? Okay, that's fine.
I think it'll
June
take-
Is that
20th.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do that and get it right off the bat?
Yeah, it'll, literally will not take up your time.
Okay, well, we would appreciate that, and we thank you and all your professionals for the testimony this evening, as well as Mr. Savino, businessman in town. I know that he employs a lot of people, does good for the community, and I wish him luck.
how it
But I want him to be a good neighbor as well.
Of course, absolutely. That's why we made the changes we made,
Well,
sincerely.
thank you very much.
Have a good evening, everyone.
All right, good night. Board members, we have no further business this evening. That's the end of our agenda. General public comments, people are leaving, so I'm not going to entertain any. Anything from the township that you want us to know, other than the meeting is on the 20th? Busy night? Okay. Mr. Clancy, anything legally?
We'll have the JCP&L resolution on for the 20th, and that'll be about it.
Very good. Ms. Porcelli, anything?
All good.
Well, thank you very much for your help tonight as well. I'll call for an adjournment. Does someone want to move it?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.